So this is our first episode of our road to Chump Car, and this is Greg, and he's the owner of this. What is it again?
1994 VW Jetta.
Right, and it's a what size motor do we have in it?
2.0.
8 valve. I know what you're thinking. You know, maybe this isn't the most desirable platform, but when Greg's already got the car, it's gold. We've been looking online, and one of the things that we noticed is there's not really anybody doing build videos, at least not in any kind of detail. There's a lot of time-lapse. Greg's done some. He's got some on his channel. You can check out a lot of the work that he's done in the past. And, you know, there's actually more significant time in it than we kind of anticipated, at least that I did. So, Greg, how many days do you have working on this car?
Well, between you and me together, we probably have about 10 solid days. You know, I was just going to make it like a track car just to have fun with.
Right.
And
then you met me, and I said, let's do Chump Car.
Yeah, exactly.
So anyway, we've spent a lot of time just getting it cleaned up, getting it gutted out, a lot of the glue, a lot of the excess metal, little tabs, bolts that stick out everywhere. And surprisingly, it takes a long time to do that stuff. And we're going to kind of show you some details of, you know, how we trimmed out the doors and things like that, and getting rid of a lot of like the sound deadening, which takes some time. Greg is the master fabricator here, so he is putting together our roll cage, and that's been kind of a learning experience, right?
Of course, yeah. I've had to look on other YouTube channels.
Thank God for YouTube.
Yeah, to figure it out.
I think at this point in time, it's most of the cleaning has been done. And the prep, and now we can actually start putting the car together, because he's already got the cage kind of halfway in, and then once that happens, it'll be putting the rest of the car together. And I know there's a lot more to do, but you know what our main things that we wanted to do is we wanted to make it as light as possible based on what's going on. And what kind of suspension do we have?
We have a Koni coilover suspension for it.
And so if you guys know anything about Chump Car, it's a 500 point limit. This car, the way it sits, is 300 points based on the year, the make, the model, and all of that in the motor. So from what we understand right now, we haven't looked too much into the rules, and I know that's probably not where you start, but or at least we're probably doing it backwards right now. But from what we understand, and again, because Greg already had a lot of parts because he was just going to make this a track car, the coilovers at this point we believe are only going to cost us 40 points all the way around the car. Sway bar, probably another 50. So that gives us another 110 points to make more modifications with. A lot of safety things don't count, so that's great. The roll cage doesn't count. Fire extinguishers, things like that. Okay, let's take a quick look at the list that we've got here. Greg, you can go over it because Greg wrote this list.
It's just a quick list I came up with, and you know, I have the cage at the top, obviously, because it's the most important.
Cage.
And it takes the most time. And then some other items that need fabrication, as a dash, the center console, where we'll probably put our kill switches and our start switches. Also, window fabrication takes quite a long time out of Lexan, so I've got that up there. And then we've got the safety stuff like seats, belts, the fire system that we have to install. And then, you know, I have other things like we've got to get the engine running correctly and test it out and put it through its paces. And I want to put safety braided fuel line, the steel braided fuel line, so that, you know, we don't have a rupture in the stock rubber fuel line, because the fuel fire is pretty much the end of the car if it keeps on igniting and keeps on pumping out. And then we got to figure out the electrical system, because, you know, we'll have to maybe delete some electrical systems because we don't need them anymore. We got to put a battery box in the back, obviously the kill switch, and the suspension, and all the upgrades on our points that we have the 200 points left with. So.
Right. So at this point, we're really going to focus on cage, dash, center console fabrication. Probably come back to the window and the Lexan kind of as we wrap things up. Okay. Engine here. Now you told me that you ran the car before and it ran well.
Yes, and then I actually did a full service on it. I changed the water pump. I changed a lot of the gaskets. all the stuff that breaks on these motors, the plastic pieces, the hoses I changed.
Right.
So they should all be still good.
And for the record, I think that we're not really gonna focus on any really motor modifications. We're not gonna chip the car. We're not gonna do any valve work, anything like that, because that would complicate things. Plus, it would probably put us over our points limit, and we want to use some of those points for things like, you had some camber plates.
Camber plates, yeah, I've got some camber plates that we can install in the front, and
we're going to put probably a wing on the back, so we can get a little bit more downforce, and because everybody knows wings make you go faster, so those are kind of actually in the rules. I think they're measured by how big the wing is and how many square inches, and so that starts adding up there. But we just really want to make it, super reliable, right?
Yeah, super reliable and handle well. And if we can make it handle well, then we can obviously just carry momentum in turns and
right, and just click off the laps rather than try to break the sound barrier.
Yeah, I mean, instead of powering out every turn, just hold momentum like motorcycle racing. Sure.
Okay, cool. And then just as far as aesthetics go, probably going to go to 15-inch tires and wheels. At some point down the road, we're probably just going to use these 14 stalkers to go out and just get some test and tune time in. Just burn the rubber off of those and have some fun with the car on a few private track days before we actually show up to Chump Car, because we don't want to look like chumps. Okay, so last week we were here and we were just trying to get a lot of the weight out of the car. I ended up cutting this section out and then using a heat gun to get all of the glue that kept what used to be here as part of the, I guess it would be the inner structure of the deck lid. And that was a pretty good weight savings. We've also taken all of the sound deadener off of the sides and then also in each door. And what we found is that the best thing for us to use was actually a heat gun and a scraper, and it came off relatively easy. It did require us to use some goof off and some other solvent to get it down to where it was smooth and there was no residue left. Where a lot of guys are using dry ice to remove stuff, and that's an option, but seems kind of a complicated and expensive one, and generally only works on a lower section. Maybe it would work on the side of a door. I don't know how you would hold the dry ice to it, but the heat gun, like I said, worked great with the scraper, and it just came off really easy. As you can see, that's how it looks before you use the goof off or like a carburetor cleaner to get off the residue, but then that's the result. It comes off nice and clean and smooth. We've got a little cleanup. Greg had actually done this previously. I'm not sure how he had done it, but we're definitely getting the weight out of it. Our goal is to get it around 2,000 pounds with the driver. So we'll see. So after using the heat gun to get all of the sound deadening off, we're using a little goof off, which seems to be better than, say, some of the other solvents, to then get all of the tar, greasy tar residue off. And as you can see, it comes off pretty easily. And basically you're just left with paint slash galvanizing that this shell came from the factory. And the sound deadening, by the way, actually truly does weigh a lot. When you start adding it all up, there's probably a good 5 to 10 pounds in it throughout the car, maybe more. It's definitely good to get this off. Plus, it gives you a much better surface to go back and paint later, and it just makes your car look that much more professionally done, even if it's not. Okay, so in an effort to make it as light as possible, I've got a little extra metal here. I've got some mechanisms for the door that we're going to leave because we definitely need to be able to latch it and unlatch it. We'll probably end up doing a wire across here, but kind of all of this metal here needs to go away. And after looking at it, I think I can just start cutting. In-N-Out Burger's on its way. Adding some masking tape will help you get good, clean cuts and nice straight lines. Awesome. Still works. Much better. One of the most essential elements of the build.
So what I'm going to do is I'm going to lop off the bottom of these legs. I'm going to, when I make these bars, I'm going to leave them about probably 4 or 5 inches short, so that when I drop the full cage, it'll drop at 5 inches, and then I'll be able to weld the top of these, and then we'll raise it back up. I'll build the boxes underneath it, and then it'll be set in place.
Without having to cut holes in the floor.
Correct.
Okay. You're a good welder, so I trust you.
All right. So the box will start down here, and it'll make a 90 degree, somewhere about 5 inches above that. And then we'll have to curve the upper portion of the plate so that it fits within here.
Okay. Yeah, that sounds good to me. Anyway, that's it for the first day. Kind of wiped down the car, gave it a little love. We'll see you next week. See ya.
Bye.